So another weekend of Championship football, and we are back for the Championship roundup. So in today's video we will be going over all of this weekend's action, discussing each game individually. I'll also be giving you guys my score predictions for the Carabao Cup fixtures going on in midweek. We've got some big ties involving Championship clubs, which I'm excited to see what you guys are saying. Before we do get into any of the action though, I will include your guys' score predictions on screen now. So if any of you did successfully manage to get any of your predictions correct, then fair play. I managed to get 2 of mine correct this weekend, and FIFA actually got 3 of theirs correct, so it wasn't a bad week for me or FIFA for predictions. So fair play if you did manage to get one of yours correct, but without any further ado, let's hop into talking about some of these games. So starting things out with the game at Ellen Road, a 1-1 draw between Leeds and Derby County. Leeds having the same problems once again, create a lot of chances, but not being clinical enough to finish off the game, and Derby got back into it late on. Looking at the stats, that pretty much sums up the game. For the first half especially, Leeds were on top in this one. They were creating a lot of chances. The goal they actually went on to score, there was probably a little bit of fortune in it. It was Dallas who had the shot, it was parried away by Roos, but it came back off Max Lowe and just about dribbled into the back of the net. Leeds were creating quite a lot of good chances though. If you look at the expected goals for this one, I'm not sure how they only managed to get the one in the end. Bamford was getting in some very good positions, you know. He had one in the first half when he went through on goal, tried to chip the ball over the keeper, but that ended up landing on the roof of the net. He hit the post in the second half. He also won the penalty for Leeds in the second half. Click stepped up to take that, and definitely wasn't his finest moment as that one dragged wide. And fair play to Derby, you know, they managed to stay in this game, and then Chris Martin of all people stepped up and scored the equaliser, took his goal very well. It's 2019 and Chris Martin is still scoring goals for Derby County. I didn't think I'd be saying that sentence at the start of the season. There's been quite a lot of talk lately about Patrick Bamford and his role at Leeds United so far this season. For me, Bamford's a really odd player because I think he's a very good footballer, but he's not a great striker, if that makes any sense. I think his overall game, the way he brings others into play, his movement's very good. If you look at some of the goals that Leeds have been scoring throughout this season, Bamford's had a large role to play in quite a few of them actually. It's just that when he gets into that goal scoring opportunity, he's just not really clinical enough. So far this season, no player has had more shots in the Championship than Patrick Bamford, and he's come back with 4 goals. You can't help but feel like someone like Eddie Nketiah would have been a little bit more clinical with some of the chances that Bamford's been presented. But although he's not the most clinical, I do still see the role he offers to that side, so maybe Bielsa could figure out a way to get both Bamford and Nketiah into the same system. It's certainly one to think about, but this is an area where Leeds really do need to look into, because this has happened quite a few times already throughout this season. You know, we saw it happen against Nottingham Forest and against Swansea, and now against Derby as well. And then we had Northend beating Birmingham by 1-0, a result which does see Preston lifted to 3rd in the Championship. What a start it has been for us. But for this game, it really was a game of 2 halves. So the first half, I thought that Preston played some quite decent football actually. There were some nice passing moves. We've seen Pearson and Gallagher dropping quite deep to pick up the ball, looking to progress us going forward. Maguire was causing a lot of problems. He eventually went on to win the free kick from which we scored from. Paul Gallagher hit the post, and then Maguire scored with the rebound. In terms of clear-cut chances though, there weren't really too many in this game. You know, I can't really remember, you know, Lee Camp or Declan Rudd having to make many saves in this one. In the second half, Preston were then looking to see out the game, run the clock down a little bit. Honestly, it was probably one of the longest 45 minutes of my life. Every time I turned over to look at the clock, it was like time was moving in slow motion, because Birmingham were starting to come on to us a little bit more, but one player at the back who's absolutely immense for us and has been throughout this season so far was Patrick Bauer. Whenever Birmingham tried to go a little bit more direct and get the ball into Djukovic, Bauer was winning that header every single time. I think in terms of leadership and a real presence at the back, Bauer has improved us absolutely immensely so far. Birmingham did have the ball in the back of the net, but that goal was ruled out to be offside, and Preston managed to hang on for all 3 points in this one. So our first away win of the season, a very big 3 points for Northend. In terms of Birmingham, they didn't really offer a lot for this game. They never really got moving going forward, and although it was an efficient performance from Preston on the road, you got to feel like Birmingham could have felt like they could have done a little bit more from this game. And then we have Brentford drawing 0-0 with Stoke City. I don't know what it is with Brentford at the moment, but they just seem to be lacking a bit of edge that they had from last season. Maybe it's as simple as losing a player like Neil Maupay, but they still tend to create a few chances per game. They have a similar way of going forward to Leeds United, where they like to get the ball out wide and look to flash the ball across the box and look to get someone on the end of it, but nothing quite seems to be falling for them at the moment, and a lot of their performances have been fairly subpar so far. You know, you can't help but feel like a Brentford side from last season could have absolutely gone to town on this Stoke side, but Stoke, in fairness to them, I suppose they managed to defend fairly well for this one. They kept Brentford at bay for the majority of it. They didn't have all too much going forward, but David Ray for Brentford, in fairness, did have to pull off some decent saves. Probably Stoke's best chance came from Peter Etebo after a bit of a dodgy pass from Rico Henry into Pontus Jansson. Etebo got on the end of that, but David Ray managed to save well. Etebo, someone who I would like to see more of in that Stoke squad. I think he gives him a lot more energy in midfield, certainly more than someone like Joe Allen offers. But the deadlock couldn't be broken in this one, and it did finish as a 0-0 draw, a point which didn't really do either side too many favours. Stoke do have 2 home games coming up now against Nottingham Forest and then Huddersfield, and you can't help but feel like those games are absolutely monumental for Nathan Jones. Bristol City against Swansea ended as a goalless draw. In all honesty, I thought there'd be a few goals in this one, but it was a fairly tense one between the two sides, and looking back on it on reflection, a point probably the fair result. Bristol City and Swansea fans, let me know what you think of that down below, but both sides had fairly decent chances for this one. A lot of Swansea's opportunities did actually come from some dead ball situations. Grimes had a good free kick which was turned around by Bentley. They also threatened from a couple of corners. AU hit the crossbar, but Bristol City, similarly to that, also offered a threat going forward. Without the presence of Benikafobe, their best chance probably fell to Jeju in this one, but it does take some getting past Woodman, who has looked very impressive in net for Swansea so far. For Bristol City, Hando Masengo, very impressive performance. I think that Bristol City have got a real gem on their hands there. I'm looking forward to seeing how he can do over a season, but did really well against the Swansea midfield, who have looked excellent so far this season, and a point's not really the worst result for either side. I feel like the red card at the end for Bidwell, I didn't think it was a red card. I thought it was a foul on Eliasson, but a yellow card at best for me. I thought that was a bit harsh, but apart from that, a point's probably fair. The first game of the weekend that I managed to successfully predict was Cardiff beating Borough by 1-0. Not a vintage away performance from Middlesbrough in this one, who didn't really offer a lot. They didn't have a lot of intensity to their play, didn't really create too many opportunities. I don't really think they had a clear-cut opportunity in this one, to be honest. They failed to have a shot on target, and Cardiff probably should have got more than the 1 goal they eventually went on to get. They took the lead after just 2 minutes. Josh Murphy whipped in. Ashley Fletcher, the Middlesbrough striker, was on the end of it to head into the back of his own net, and after 2 minutes, that was the only goal of the game. Cardiff probably should have gone on to extend their lead after that. Omar Bogle had some fantastic chances. He hit the bar, and Randolph saved well from some others. But a decent 3 points for Cardiff at home, who are now unbeaten in their last 5 championship matches. Then we had Hull picking the ball 3 points on the road, beating Luton by 3-0. You feel like that could be a big 3 points in Hull season, who have been putting in some relatively decent performances lately, but just not getting the results from them. To pick up all 3 points on the road for this one, you feel like will be big for their season going forward. You know, this only being their 2nd win of this season, but they were well worth their 3 points after they really turned it on in the second half. Luton were left to be quite frustrated. In a lot of games that I've seen them in so far, they have been competitive for all of them. They just leave themselves a bit too exposed at the back. Currently, no team in the Championship is averaging more shots against them than Luton Town are. I think that 16 shots against Luton is the average at the moment, which is too high. You know, you're always going to concede goals when you're allowing the opposition to have that many chances. Hull certainly took their chances well in the second half, though. Kevin Stewart, who's probably been one of, if not their players of the season so far, took his goal fantastically. Grosicki made it 2 in the 87th minute with a smashing low finish. He's someone who can always turn on the quality and can add that bit of magic. And then the third goal was possibly one of the most bizarre goals I've seen in quite a while, actually. One of the most scrappy goals that sometimes can sum up the Championship, but well taken by Hull. They were well worth their 3 points in the end, and that 3 points was just needed after last week against Wigan. And then we had QPR continuing their impressive run of form with all 3 points at the den, beating Millwall by 2-1. They've now won their last 4 matches. Naki Wells scoring both goals in this game for the visitors. He took his first goal very well to open the scoring. Millwall did get back into the game with a goal through Hutchinson, that one coming from a corner and him getting the final touch on it, before Wells went on to score the winner. A long ball pumped up the pitch. Bilkowski took a bit of a dodgy touch, probably not realising that he didn't have too much time on the ball. Wells raced in to nick the ball off him, and in the end had a tap in to make it 2-1. What I like about this QPR side at the moment is I think it's got fantastic balance to it. If you look at the midfield 3 that they're playing with at the moment, Eze, Ball and Chair, you got 2 very technically gifted midfielders in there in Eze and Chair, and then one sort of player to deal with the physicality in Millwall in Ball. Then you've got Wells playing off Hugo going forward. I think it's got great balance to it, and considering the amount of money that's been spent on this QPR side putting it all together, Mark Warburton's done an unbelievable job with that side so far. With Millwall though, it was another disappointing result, and I thought there was more endeavour in this performance than there was last time against Blackburn. There just seems to be a bit of a lack of quality for creating real goal scoring opportunities from open play at the moment. And then we had Forest picking up all 3 points against Barnsley, winning this one by 1-0. Now you got to give it to Forest, given their fixtures at the start of the season, for them to be sat in the top 6 currently, it's been a very positive start for them. And this was the sort of game where last last season, we would see Forest dropping a few points here and there, but they managed to see Barnsley off with Watson, maybe a bit of an unlikely goal scorer, scoring the only goal of the game. But it was a very well taken goal. The ball pulled back across goal and he took it well when it came his way. Forest could have taken the lead in the first half when Lewis Grabban had a 1-on-1, but he just dragged his shot wide. After going 1-0 down, Barnsley responded fairly well. I mean, Barnsley had some pretty decent chances throughout this game. Quite similar to the game they had last time out against Leeds. They really could have scored a few goals in this one. Samba, the Nottingham Forest goalkeeper, was on hand though. I thought he had an absolutely terrific game in this one. Dawson made one vital block when Barnsley looked to be destined to score. And for whatever reason, things just haven't clicked for Barnsley going forward so far this season. They are currently the lowest scorers in the league, only scoring 4 goals this far into this season. And when you're averaging, 4 goals from 8 games, something does have to change there, because I have seen signs of promise from Barnsley so far. When you can't hit the back of the net, things are only going to end one way. Blackburn have really picked up some form lately. They've won 3 out of their last 5, picked up another 3 points on the road against Reading this weekend with a 2-1 away victory. Adam Armstrong opening the scoring after just 8 minutes in this one. A really well taken goal. It seemed like he had an absolute eternity to sort of line up the shot from outside the box. He took it down and then just picked out the far post. Great technique for that opening goal, but I can't help but feel like Reading should have done a little bit better to close him down. Going into the second half, Bradley Dack then managed to make it 2 for the away side. He thrives in those positions where you cut the ball back across goal. Once again, Reading probably could have done a little bit better. I think they had about 3 players around them, but he just managed to wriggle away from all of them, get his shot away and make it 2-0 for his 3rd goal in as many matches. John Swift did get a goal back for Reading, but I thought the away side was worthy of their 3 points. It was a good showing on the road for them. Reading, especially in the first half, I didn't think were anywhere near good enough, and they've been on a bit of a dodgy run lately. And if you look at their fixtures, the next sort of 6 or so look really challenging for Reading. They've got Swansea, Fulham, Bristol City, Preston, QPR and Nottingham Forest as their upcoming fixtures. None of them are going to be easy games with the way that Reading are playing at the moment. Then we have Wednesday drawing 1-1 with Fulham, Nuhiu being the man to come off the bench and rescue a point for the home side. Despite all the possession that Fulham had in this game, Wednesday were never really out of it. We saw Fulham having 71% possession, which has been a bit of a trend for Fulham so far this season, to have a high percentage of the ball, but not really been able to kill off a game. The opening goal of the game did come in the first half for Fulham, as Westwood parried the cross straight into the path of Tom Kearney, who managed to finish to make it 1-0. And Fulham didn't really build on that opening goal in the second half. We saw Bettinelli being kept on his toes by Wednesday, as they had quite a few chances, but it was Nuhiu coming off the bench who equalised in the 93rd minute from a deflected Kadeem Harris cross. And I go as far to say that Nuhiu is probably one of the sort of best plan B options to have coming off the bench. I remember the game that Preston had against Wednesday at Deepdale earlier on in this season, and Nuhiu was causing our defence all sorts of problems. He's a massive handful, but he took his goal very well, a diving header in the 93rd minute to rescue the point for Wednesday. 4 points from his opening 2 games as Wednesday manager for Gary Monk, not a bad return at all. And then we have Wigan beating Charlton by 2-0. You feel like a massive 3 points for Wigan, who are lifted out of the relegation zone, with 2 goals from Dunkley in the 22nd and 70th minute, converting from 2 corners. Charlton in this one, in the first half especially, looked really far off the pace from what we've come to expect from them so far this season. In possession they were quite sloppy, and it's an obvious thing to say, but without Lyle Taylor they really have been lacking that clinical edge going forward. Wigan were able to take full advantage of that though, and were well worth their 3 points in the end. Charlton did come back into it a little bit more in the second half. David Marshall pulled off some good saves, but ultimately Charlton weren't good enough in this one, and Wigan will be hoping to regain their home form from last season now. And then to round things off, we have West Brom beating Huddersfield by 4-2. Now Huddersfield took the lead twice in this game, and I mean there were some positive signs from them going forward. Both goals were very well taken. The first from O'Brien in the 16th minute and the second from Carlon Grant, brilliant touch and finish. But as soon as West Brom started to pile on a little bit of pressure to that Huddersfield defensive line, they just crumbled. You feel like fullback especially is a real weakness for Huddersfield at the moment. Clubs attacking them from wide areas, Huddersfield just have no capability of defending from those areas, it seems. Furlong got the equaliser for West Brom, Matty Phillips then got his second of the game in the second half, and then Semi Ajayi wrapped things up in the 89th minute. 2 players who I've loved watching play for West Brom so far this season have been Pereira and Diangana. They were showing flashes in this one, but with Huddersfield and their incapability of defending at the moment, it's tough to see where 3 points are going to come from unless there are drastic improvements in those areas. They are now sat bottom of the Championship after Stoke picked up a point this weekend, but West Brom are well worth their 3 points, and the result which does see them now 4th in the Championship and also the top scorers as well. But they were all the games that did go on this weekend. In terms of my results of the weekend, I think I'm going to give it to Wigan for beating Charlton by 2-0. It's their first victory since the opening day of the season, and you feel like that result could be big for them moving forward now. And then for my goal of the weekend, a few contenders for this one. We saw some great goals scored in the whole game, a few other contenders as well, but I think me personally, I'm going to just give it to Adam Armstrong for his goal against Reading this weekend. Brilliant curling effort from outside the box. And just before we do wrap up today's video, we do have some some Carabao Cup action going on in midweek, so I will give you guys my predictions for what I think is going to happen with the games involving some Championship clubs. So feel free to leave your predictions in the comments down below. Arsenal against Nottingham Forest. Now this one's an interesting one because Arsenal, I mean, they can't defend, and that does give Forest a real chance in this one, and I don't think there'll be all too much in it, to be honest. And for a prediction, you know, I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw, and I think that Arsenal may just sneak this one on penalties, but I do really see Forest giving Arsenal a good game in that one, and I do see both teams making changes for it, but who knows, it's a cup competition, anything could happen. Crawley going up against Stoke. For as bad as Stoke have been in the Championship so far, I think this could be one of those weird seasons where they end up having a bit of a cup run. I'll just edge them for a 2-away victory against Crawley. Luton against Leicester should be an entertaining game. Luton have scored a few goals so far this season, but with how open they leave themselves at the back, I think that Leicester should be winning that one, really. I'll say 3-1 to the away side. Preston against Man City. Oh my word. I mean, Man City have just put 8 goals past Watford, although Preston do have a 100% record at Deepdale so far this season. I'm interested to see what lineup Alex Neil goes for, whether he does make a few changes from the weekend. I think he's going to have to, really. Guardiola's going to no doubt make about 11 changes from the weekend, but Man City's B team is still just absolutely ridiculous. Don't get me wrong, they could absolutely batter us in this one. For a realistic score prediction, it's probably going to end up being something like 4-1 or something like that, but who knows, Preston could pull off an absolute miracle. Sheff Wednesday against Everton. You know what, I'm actually going to fancy Wednesday in that one. Everton I've not really been too impressed by in the Premier League so far, and Wednesday under Gary Monk now I think will be quite resilient for that game, and I'm going to back them for a 2-1. Watford against Swansea, don't think they'll be able to watch in that one either. I'm going to say will be a 1-1 draw with Swansea winning on penalties. And then finally we have Wolves going up against Reading. I think I'm going to back Wolves for that one, with Reading lately being a little bit dodgy in the league. I'll say Wolves to walk away with a 2-0 victory. But guys, there you have it. There are the Carabao Cup games going on in midweek involving a Championship club, so let me know down below what you think is going to happen. But apart from that, that will now wrap it up for this episode of the Championship Roundup. So if you're going to enjoy, make sure you do leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. Make sure you do subscribe for some regular Championship content. But apart from that, thanks very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.